Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Saturday, July 20th. Over the next few days, we'll continue to have heat building over western and northern areas, especially from Idaho down into western and northwest Nevada. These temperatures in the purple will be near or at record temperatures, so definitely very hot conditions coming up for the next several days. Also, thunderstorm activity will continue in Utah, but will actually spread further north as we move into the next few days into northern Nevada, and then eventually into southwest and central Idaho. So we'll continue to watch those. We do have high risk in some of those areas for this lightning as it continues to build north in areas that have been drier, and these storms should be on the drier side. Otherwise, aside from gusty outflow winds, wind flow in general will remain on the lighter side. Precipitation over the last 24 hours, you can see the lightning anywhere from central and eastern Nevada across Utah down into the Arizona Strip with just a few isolated strikes up in the north and even a few this morning. You can see from the precipitation we have had some areas of wetting rain, especially in central and eastern Nevada and parts of the Arizona Strip, but otherwise it has, similar to previous days, been on the spotty side. Yesterday we had 14 fires reported for 69.7 acres across the Great Basin and no new or emerging fires, at least large fires. Over the last 7 to 14 days, again, precipitation continues in some of the same areas, again being on the spotty side. And you can see from the last 14 days, the percent of normal here on the right still generally shows overall below normal precipitation, with just some areas that have seen some of these wetting rains are above normal. But again, very, very localized. Also of note, very dry conditions from parts of northwest Nevada up into central and southwest Idaho and the Snake River Plain. So those areas haven't had much rainfall at all in the last 2 weeks. Our ERC percentiles are kind of showing a mixed bag. We do still have some critical areas, especially in northern and western areas that have been on the drier side, but also still in parts of Utah that haven't seen some of those wetting rains, again, with it being pretty spotty and mainly confined to the higher elevations. Currently, our ERCs are still above normal and near records over parts of Idaho and even into parts of southwest Utah. But you can see for southwest Utah, we'll be on the downward trend as moisture returns for the next several days at times. And then up north, it looks like ERCs more staying steady as we're not expecting significant moisture up in Idaho. The satellite image from this morning shows strong high pressure dominating the west, again responsible for our very hot temperatures, especially near and on the west side of this ridge, so the western and northern areas of the Great Basin. You can see a large trough off the northwest coast. There's also a weaker feature off the California coast, and as this moves northeast, that will be responsible for triggering some of our thunderstorms further north over the next couple of days. Looking at our weather pattern for later today, again, more of the same across Nevada and Utah, maybe storms a little bit further north along the Sierra Front today, more of a mix of wet and dry in these southern areas. So no high risk today, as again, these thunderstorms will be a mix of wet and dry. Relative humidity will remain in the teens over western areas, a couple single digits down south, and then a little bit higher in the mountains of Wyoming down into Utah. And then you can see from the wind gust map, these are all showing outflow winds. You can see those outflow winds extending a little bit further north than the lightning did yesterday, maybe even into the southern part of Winnemucca and over parts of the Sierra Front. Temperatures, again, remaining hot, highs over 100 for western and northwest Nevada and near 104 up in Boise. And you can see from the thunderstorm potential map, again, better chance of thunderstorms along the Sierra Front today. Also could see a few strikes further north up towards Elko, maybe even into parts of Winnemucca, but for the most part, that greater concentration of lightning over the southern half of the Great Basin, and could still see some strikes in eastern Idaho and Wyoming. Looking at Sunday, you can see the ridge continues to amplify, so hotter temperatures continue tomorrow. We do have high risk for lightning as that wave moves up into the Pacific Northwest. You can see a few pin drops here in Oregon indicating that lightning threat, which will also extend into northwest Nevada. So you can see we have high risk for lightning in northwest Nevada, matching up well with north ops and up into the Pacific Northwest with Oregon. We will continue to see that lightning activity further south and east across Nevada and Utah. Again, those will be more of a mix of wet and dry, and these lightning strikes over northwest Nevada will likely be on the drier side. Relative humidity remains in the teens in most valleys and above 20% or so in some of the higher elevations of Wyoming and Utah. You can see from the wind gust indicating those outflow winds, especially across Nevada. And you can see in northwest Nevada, we will see those gusty outflow winds as that lightning increases. Again, these will be in areas that haven't seen a whole lot of rainfall in most areas. Temperatures on Sunday continue to climb, 103 for parts of western Nevada, 106 for Boise, so definitely very hot temperatures to go along with this increase in lightning we will be seeing. And on Sunday, you can see the potential for up in northwest Nevada, but also the greater coverage of lightning with mix of wet and dry continues over Nevada and is pushed a little bit further south into Utah and the Arizona Strip. As we move into Monday, this ridge slides a little bit further east, but still continuing hot temperatures. This weaker wave pushes north up into northern Idaho, so we still have high risk on Monday for parts of the central Idaho mountains. Also, you can see that continuing in Oregon. We'll be watching southwest Idaho or some of these areas, some of these PSAs further south in western Idaho to see if we need to add any high risk there. Could have a little bit more lightning on Monday, but we'll keep watching that. Right now, it's just not as, confidence is not as high in the lightning in southwest Idaho. Otherwise, the mix of wet and dry storms will continue further south. And you can see relative humidity still remaining unchanged, mainly in the teens in the lower elevations. And then the gusty outflow winds, you can see those gusty outflow winds pick up in Idaho and continue across parts of Nevada. So looking at the thunderstorm potential, we do have that return of lightning for central Idaho, and then continuing with that wet and dry storms in Nevada and parts of Utah. Temperatures still remain hot going into the early part of the week. So expecting those hot temperatures to continue on the west side and still remain generally below 100 on the east side. 3-day precipitation, you can see still just spotty precipitation anywhere in Nevada and up into Idaho. And the better chances of some areas of wetting rains will continue over parts of the Arizona Strip and into southwest and central Utah. Going into Tuesday next week, that ridge just continues to dominate with those hot temperatures and lingering moisture, especially across Nevada and Utah for daily thunderstorms. Significant fire potential still remains moderate as, again, these wetting rains, when they occur, will be still pretty spotty. Continued conditions on Wednesday, we might see a little bit better potential for some moisture in Nevada going into the middle of the week and into western portions of Arizona. So we'll continue to watch these areas to see if our fire potential will drop at all. But for the most part, this main trough off the northwest coast still might generate some thunderstorms further north into Idaho towards the middle of the week. We'll be watching those areas for high risk, but right now it looks like the better potential is off to the east. And then on Thursday, as that trough swings eastward, that will push a lot of that moisture to the east, but still lingering moisture over much of the Great Basin for thunderstorms. A little bit more yellow on the map for southern areas as that moisture remains in place. And then that continues into Friday with better chances of moisture down south. So again, decreasing that fire potential. But for the most part, still remaining on the dry side for Idaho and western and northwest Nevada. 7-day total precipitation, again, as we get closer to the middle of the week, better potential for some rainfall in central Nevada and over into the Sierra Front. So we'll see how that plays out and definitely hope for that moisture down south as well. Otherwise, Idaho and northwest Nevada still remain on the drier side over the next 7 days. But at least with this heat, there is a better potential of this heat only being a short-term, relatively short-term compared to the last heat wave event. As we get into later next week and next weekend, we'll start to see a little bit of relief, at least from those really hot record temperatures up in Idaho and western areas of Nevada, and that will be pushed further eastward. So we'll see those hotter conditions around the Four Corners area and also clipping the eastern portions of the Great Basin. Otherwise, looking to dry out as we get later next week into the end of the month. So again, no big monsoon pushes of moisture expected once we get later in the month. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.